Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. This is our second and last segment of the Muslim Insight. And like I said earlier, before I went for a short break, we are going to have an impactful discussion on matters that concerns you, matters studying abroad, the pros and cons. Many students have dreamt of studying abroad. Many students have gotten the chance to study abroad. What are the requirements of studying abroad? And what do we need to study abroad? Why do we want to study abroad? And that is why we are having this conversation. Let's get to know why student does that and maybe what are the requirements among other things. And to discuss that, I am joined here by my two guests, Mr. Mohammed Karama, Director, Imperial Education Consultant, as well as Mahmoud Abbas, Marketing Executive. Welcome, Mr. Mohammed Karama, and again, welcome Mahmoud Abbas too.
Thank you. Thank you so
How
much.
are you feeling today?
Thank you very much.
So, Imperial Education Consultants help students study abroad. Let's delve into the pros and cons of this exciting path. Briefly tell us what Imperial Education Consultants is.
Thank you very much. So my name is Mohammed Karama, Director and Founder of Imperial Education Consultants, which officially started in the year 2015, but had a history prior to that in student recruitment. And Imperial Education Consultants started because also of the challenges that I faced as I embarked on my journey to go and pursue my further studies in Malaysia. And I thought I can also be part of the solution and assisting students and parents, get it right from, the start to the end without facing challenges, which sometimes the challenges, have a very negative impact and regret because, it's a future of someone and you don't want to mess up with their future. So over the years, I've developed the company and we have grown from strength to strength, and we are there for students to assist them in that.
So probably how many universities, or rather how many countries do you engage?
That's a good question. So Imperial Education Consultants, when we started, when I was a student in Malaysia, I used to do purely Malaysia, assisting students to come to Malaysia when I used to be there. And then as I started, it was more on building on affordable, study destinations. That was Ukraine, Russia, China, and so on. And over the past 10 years, we have built to now having more than 30 study destinations with over 500 universities under, our portfolio. So it's quite a wide and variety of options for students. Wow. So imagine a list of 500 universities for a student to look at. And, there are more universities out there, but we are keen on providing students with, affordable, quality universities which are recognized or high rank and other, factors which we look at, and we came to, have that number. And it has been a number that has grown over time, and there is still, more universities which want to partner with us because, of the our name out there in the region, because as Imperial, we don't only operate in Kenya, we operate physically in 8 countries in East and Southern Africa.
Wow, that's really great. Many students aspire to study a certain course like hospitality, electroeconomics, engineering, all those medicines. How do Imperial Education Consultants cater specifically to the needs and aspirations of Kenyan students looking to study abroad?
So courses are so many out there. You will find each university have maybe 10 faculties having over 200, 300 programs. And part of the service that IEC does and why, students and parents find our service to be useful and, we are needed in the community is because as experienced experts in study abroad, we know how to differentiate a university which is good in, hospitality, to a university which is focused more in engineering, not just a university, a country as a study destination. So you don't just go and do hospitality anywhere, just like you don't want to go and do aeronautical engineering just anywhere, you know. So when students come for advice or they want to use our service, we have like a profile that we create for a student. We sit down with the student, we sit down with the parent, and we look at so many different factors until we derive to options that, you know, you are not making a wrong decision by going to a university, because all factors included holistically, you're making the right decision. So, you know, choosing, once you have chosen the career that you want to pursue, you are looking at, you know, where there are good universities which are known for that particular course or faculty. Number two, which universities have partnered with industries in that particular, you know, course. Let's say now you're talking about hospitality, and students go to, let's say, Switzerland, or they go to Malaysia in Asia, because, you know, in a year Malaysia receives like 40 million tourists, and those tourists are basically in the hospitality industry. So for sure that country will have quality, you know, colleges and universities in that program, and they will partner with, let's say, companies like Hilton, Intercontinental, you know, JW Marriott, and so on. So by the time you're done, it's not a purely degree only, but, you know, you have a lot of add-ons in your CV to show.
Wow. Yeah. As a marketing executive, Mahmoud Abbas too, yes. Imperial Education Consultants. Maybe what is your role as a marketing executive of the Imperial Education Consultants?
All right, so basically my role is to put the name of the brand out there. Okay. So I have to raise awareness and make sure people know that IEC exists. And there's multiple ways to do this. So we mainly utilize our digital channels as well as traditional methods, such as putting posters out, billboards as well, just to raise awareness and make sure people are aware of the brand.
Wow. And we are in the digital era, whereby yes. I can Google, I can study online, I can get my degree certificate online. And with so many options available in the country, which may look or rather seem cheap, why should students consider studying abroad?
All right, so yeah, that is true. Studying in Kenya is definitely a cheaper option. However, the experience of studying abroad is an invaluable experience. You know, you cannot put a price on it. Because take it from both of us, having studied abroad, the kind of skills and development that we've had personally, and also the ability to gain independence, and also your, what's it called, your adaptability, your ability to adapt to and adjust to different environments, that leads to you growing into a different person, you know, whereas if you're always in the same environment, surrounded by the same kind of influences, then it limits the growth that you can have. There's a ceiling to that. So when you study abroad, it expands your horizons. You're able to meet different people. You gain networking opportunities which can last even a lifetime.
You know, maybe Mr. Karama, could you like add something on that? Why should we consider studying abroad?
So it's good. So technology has led us to, you know, online courses. And it used to be prior to COVID, but during COVID, it became like it had to be done, because there was no way of students going to uni, whether you're studying abroad or locally. And you'll find from students' perspective and, you know, their feedback is you cannot put it in the same, you know, bracket. That human interaction between you and your lecturer, between you and your colleagues in class, it's you know, a different level of advantage versus, you know, online. While at IEC, we also assess students who want to do online, but, you know, you do online courses for a reason. Maybe you are a working class, you know, and you cannot travel and leave. Maybe you have family, but you still want to upgrade, so you can go for online classes. We partner with universities in the UK and so on, and you can do at your comfort of your home. But, you know, that's not our main line. Our main line is for you to, you know, travel out there. As Mahmoud said, you know, it has a lot of advantages, and he mentioned some of them. But I will also mention the opportunities which come with traveling. That flight you take from here to Canada, you know, already opens a lot of doors for you as a person, because, you know, how limited jobs are in Kenya. We know the unemployment rate and so on. So one way, when we look at the profile of the student, the finances and everything, we know where to place them. But more so, all these benefits of, top quality education. So let's say you want to go and do communication at University of Nairobi, but there is a university out there which is in the top 20 in the world. So when a big multinational company, let's say a BBC or something, wants to hire, and they see someone with, from a top 10 or 20 university worldwide in communication and someone from a local university, they will put that as an upper hand because of many reasons, which leads to such a university being higher ranked. So it's a big advantage. So we can discuss, many reasons, but because of time, let's talk about internship and work opportunities. So that's also one advantage why students go out there. If I study at Strathmore, chances are, if my 4-year degree, I'll be from home, uni, home. But when you go to Australia, you go to US or any other reputable study destination, you're able to work as you study. So imagine in 4 years' time, you have a proper degree and you have been working for 4 years on a part-time basis and full-time during holiday, because your visa doesn't limit that. And, the work placements, internship, all that included, you are not a fresh graduate. So someone coming out of University of Adelaide in Adelaide, Australia, and someone coming from University of Nairobi, for example, without, we are not talking, negative about our local universities, but as a student from University of Nairobi, chances are will come out with a proper degree but no work experience or very limited experience. This student who has gone to Australia will have a full CV saying, in my 4 years, I've been working here, and so on.
I don't want us to go far from that topic. When you talk about global exposure, networking, maybe most students who study abroad, most students who go to universities, not only abroad but within the country, they may end up not having jobs, like unemployed. What maybe could be, or how can study abroad benefit Kenyan students specifically in terms of their future careers in Kenya?
Okay, I'll take that question. So number one, when we again, part of our service is to plan not just for the education of the student, but what next. I'm done with my degree, what next? So Imperial Education is there to draw a map for the student and the parent. That is, let's take you to a destination where, number one, you're able to study and work. Okay, so worst comes to us, once you're done with your 4-year degree, that work experience can help you when you come back home to be advantageous with the limited job opportunities that are there because of your travel exposure and all those advantages you have talked about. So you are put a little on the upper hand, number one. Number two, these study destinations that we're talking about, a lot of them allow students to stay back in those countries. So I do my degree in Canada. Once I graduate, Canadian government allows me to stay there for 3 years without applying for extra visa. It's called a post-study work visa. So while I have the liberty to come back home, most of the students, because number one, as a parent, you have invested a lot of money. So you don't want to take a chance by sending your child, a son or daughter, back home and start searching for a job while the country that they're there already allows them to work. So we usually tell students, take advantage of the post-study work visa, because these are countries with maybe 3% unemployment rate, 1.5%, 5%. Chances are the economy, the way it's strong, there is a job for you. And because you have studied in that particular country, you have worked part-time, you have done your internships there, the companies are welcoming you to apply even though you're an international student. Just the fact that they have more job opportunities, number one. Number two, sometimes their population of their own citizens is very low, or their their population is more of elderly, so the youthful population is not too big. So international students integrate into the system very, very well. So by the time you want to come back home, you have good work experience to even open up your own, company, or, be a freelance, or even work, for private companies or multinational companies. And that's one thing I've found with students. You know, they come back here and they start sending their CVs to big multinational companies, and because of their degrees are from overseas, these companies value that, because you know they know this student can adapt to different environments. So if we send this student now, or this graduate who is working for us, if we have a new project in Botswana, chances are this guy will just take a flight and just head there and work, you know, for a contract, because you know they have lived abroad, so they stand a better chance to go in, you know, different environments and suit very, very well.
You know, when you talk about applications as a marketing executive, you've talked about you marketing the organization, or rather Imperial Education Consultants.
Yes.
What are the process, or rather take us through the process of application?
All right, so as a marketing executive, I normally don't take students to the application process. Mm-hmm. However, there are various challenges that students do experience when going through the application process. Mm-hmm. So normally these processes can be seen as quite complex, mm-hmm. especially the visa application. So as IAC, we normally help to soothe the difficulties in these areas.
So maybe you could add on that, the process of application. Again, tell us what are the requirements?
Sure. So it's a long process, and some countries it can even take a 6 months process for us to start until we are done with the process. Mm-hmm. And you know, over time, things have really evolved and changed, because during my time when I was in high school, we had to wait for us to finish our KCSE, get my KCSE results, then start applying to university. Now universities are more open. You know, we can start assisting students when they're still in Form 4, when they're still at A level. So we use the mock results and so on, because, you know, things to do with like scholarship applications, they have deadlines. And sometimes if you wait for your KCSE results to be out, sometimes the deadline for that scholarship for that calendar academic year is already, you know, elapsed, and students miss on that. So we start the journey with students from as early as Form 3 or Form 4 by building their interest. First, we build their interest. We attend events to do with parents meeting in schools, graduation ceremonies in schools. So, you know, building the brand in schools where parents, even those who have kids in Form 1 and Form 2, start getting to know, oh, okay, so I can send my son or daughter abroad. So this is the budget. So we let them plan ahead on time, you know, even 1 or 2 years, because sometimes the finances, it's not easy, you know, with the current economy even to start, you know, financing 2 million or 3 million or 1 million to send, you know, your son or daughter out. We understand those challenges and we have solutions for that. But the application process is very systematic at IEC, because we have counselors in place to do that. So gathering the right documents to apply to the universities. Then once we are done with that, we submit to the university, and that's the difference between us applying for you and you applying directly, because you have no communication with the university, while Imperial Education Consultant is contracted with the universities. So basically what that means is, with WhatsApp message, with this one email, our applications are, you know, looked after, or with a quick turnaround time. Scholarships are considered for our students with merit, with sports and so on. Now, a student gets an offer letter. An offer letter is basically an acceptance letter. So sometimes that acceptance letter has conditions. Maybe you need to take an extra English exam by the name IELTS or TOEFL or PTE. There are a lot of English exams out there. We also train students for that. That's why we call ourselves a one-stop center, because anything regarding abroad, we have it in our offices. So once that process is done, mainly the parent will go ahead and pay the deposit, which is part of the tuition fee, and then we'll go now to the most critical part. And why do these study abroad universities first depend on study consultants like Imperial Education? Because they are seated there in the universities in Calgary, in Vancouver, in Toronto, or in Washington, D.C., and they don't know the embassies in these countries, especially our third world countries, because we are either a high-risk country or we are, you know, second tier. We are not in the first tier. So basically, embassies are very, you know, keen on, you know, our people, because they feel that, you know, this is someone who is just looking to go to the US to work. So a lot of students who end up applying on their own, you'll find they get visa rejections and then they come back because, you know, they didn't prepare well. Some documentations were missing, or, you know, they were not guided on the interview. You go sit with the visa officer and they start asking, you know, questions, and you just mess up a little bit and you get a visa rejection, because they cannot allow everyone to go out there. So they have to limit the numbers, and that's why, you know, coming to us, we make sure that we look at the long-term, the end result, which is getting your visa to travel to that particular country. So all that processes is done by us.
You know, you've talked about the challenges many students face while they are in the process of applying to study abroad. Maybe what are other challenges do you face, or rather the students face, and how do you overcome them?
All right, well, a common challenge that students face is firstly identifying the institution that they'd like to apply to. And then second of all, there's also being familiar with the regions that they're applying to, because they may not be aware of things such as crime rate, or the climate, how cold it is, how hot it is. So those are some of the common challenges they face. And then yeah, that's pretty much.
Or maybe how do you overcome them?
All right, so how we help them overcome these challenges is basically through, we do pre-departure orientation. So we talk to the kids, we counsel them and explain the consequences of where that they're applying to, and where maybe give them alternatives in the sense that, in the case that they choose to apply somewhere else as well.
Maybe I want to study a certain course, rather maybe a hospitality course or medicine course, and I don't know where I want to study, but I just want to study abroad. Do you help them in choosing the universities?
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. We help with every process from A to Z, from identifying where they want to study, all the way through the application process, the visa process, and even the travel arrangements if they wish.
You've talked about fees in this economy, the Kenyan economy. Right now, many people are complaining that the economy is too bad, the economy is pinching us so much, you know. So what are the kind of academic supports do you offer students?
Perfect. So it's true, while opportunities are limited here, but still also the cost of living keeps going high. The dollar rate fluctuates, you know, and that affects the planning of parents. So we also, because sometimes, as I said, the process is long, and we keep also monitoring the dollar rate, and counselors also advise parents whenever we know that the rate is low. We advise parents also to, you know, change their local currencies into the foreign currency and just keep it in the account while they wait to pay the fees. But if we are to, you know, talk about or expound on that factor, on finances first, basically we advise parents to start saving early. So if you save early, you know, it's just like building a house or wanting to buy a land. You know, we always have long-term plans, and I think education of you know, our children have to be, you know, planned way ahead. And I like the fact of some parents, you know, when they have a bank account for their children and they save for like 10 years. So even if, you know, it reaches a stage where their businesses are not going well, or they're, you know, they're facing challenges in employment, they already have a backup plan, and that was the saving. That's number one. Number two, as a parent comes, you know, I was not planning to send my kid abroad. I didn't save anything, but now I've decided I want to take him or her abroad. So the fact that we have over 20 countries, the fact that we have over 500 universities, you'll be surprised that some of these universities are cheaper than going to Strathmore. We have universities with 100% scholarship, but they're limited. More of full scholarships are usually at postgraduate level, you know, masters and PhD. But most of the students we serve, they're looking at diploma and bachelors, and full scholarships are limited. But we focus on getting them 50% scholarship, you know, 70% scholarship, and that helps parents a lot.
So that is from Imperial Education Consultant?
No, so Imperial doesn't have the funds to give you scholarships, so we fight for the students with our universities. So because I've been, you know, working with these universities for over 10 years, we have that a close relationship. So I can tell them that, you know, we have because these universities, most of them are public universities. Public universities get funded by their government, so they have, you know, budget on scholarship. All they want is, you know, smart students, deserving students, and they'll go on merit. So we'll find a student with 5 A's in KCSE. These are students who deserve scholarship. But because they're limited, sometimes we might not be able to get them, all of them, full scholarship. But the ones we can, we work on a journey with them to assist them, even if it's not 100, but a good discounted fee. That's number one. Number two, we work closely with an institution which is called AEDT, Elimisha Trust, which is based here in Nairobi. We have been partnering with AEDT for a long time, and a good number of our students are on financing by AEDT. AEDT is basically a halal loan, which doesn't take any interest, but they have a revolving fund to, you know, finance the education of the student, and then the parent pays in bits. If you don't want to go for that, we can talk to the university to give you a payment plan so that you don't have to pay a 2 million in one shot. You can be divided maybe in 3 or 4 installments. That also can be done on case to case with universities. Now, I can, you know, spend 2 million to take my son to Canada, but the cost of living in Canada is high. I cannot send him 100,000 every month for housing and food. So we also work with that student because the law allows for them to work. We make sure we give them the prerequisite, you know, the skills that you need to get. I usually, whenever I talk to students, there are 2, you know, websites that I talk a lot to students, one called Coursera and another one called Allison. These are free courses that you can do online, short courses, and they have very strong certifications, you know, so that once you go to the US, you know, you have a skill. It can be plumbing skill, and you can gain a lot of money, you know, solving issues with plumbing in people's home, and that money you can use it for your upkeep. You'll be surprised, some of these students earn a lot of money by working part-time, that they can pay their full tuition fee. And this is, you know, not impossible. It is very possible in countries like Australia. I know hundreds of parents who tell me after the first semester, I've never sent any money to my son, you know, and sometimes they're surprised and they come and ask me or my counselors, are you sure my son or daughter is on the right path and they're not selling drugs over there? But we tell them, because the economies are strong, you know, a student might be paid 40 Canadian or Australian dollars an hour. So if they work for 40 hours in a week, 20 hours in a week, 80 hours in a month, they have enough money to eat, you know, pay their bills, and even save for accommodation. While that is not always the case, because, you know, you're not sure whether you'll get a job in the first place, it's your own initiative to apply for those jobs. We give the students all the resources they need. The universities we work with, they all have employability departments, and we, you know, tell the students, we push them to go and search for those opportunities so that they are not a burden to their parents.
Okay, due to time, maybe there are enrollments of other parties like the government, like the loaners, those who give loans to those parents. Maybe they don't have money to take their children to study abroad. Enrollment of parents. Let's talk about parents. How do you ensure that parents or guardians, that the safety of their children is guaranteed while they are studying abroad? You know, there are some cases like war, earthquakes, or rather tsunami. How do you ensure that the safety of their children is guaranteed?
I think you're a better place to answer this.
Okay, so safety is paramount, and there are actually rankings out there. Like there is a common ranking every year which comes out called the 10 best livable cities in the world. Okay, and you'll find, you know, 2 or 3 cities in Australia, 2 or 3 cities in Canada, and so on, New Zealand. A lot of countries have cities in the top 10 or top 20. And when they talk about best livable cities, they talk about safety, they talk about infrastructure, they talk about healthcare, because a parent doesn't just, you know, look at safety alone and, you know, keeps a blind eye on the other factors. They look at a lot of different factors, and that's why I said when a parent comes into our office or when you're starting the process, we profile the student and look everything they're looking at. In our community, the Muslim community, we are looking at, I don't want my son or daughter to lose identity. I don't want to send her somewhere that she cannot even wear hijab, or they cannot get a masjid or a prayer hall in the university, or they cannot get halal food in the neighborhood. So all those are things that we look at and make sure that we send a student somewhere that they won't regret and they won't have challenges. Because we have been doing this for many years, we usually, whenever we send a student to a university, we tell them about the other students who are already there. Second year, third year, fourth year, or they have graduated and they're working in those cities. We connect them so that, those guys there, they act as, mentors, or just, assisting their, countrymen and women to settle down and help them. There are phenomena which happen and they're out of control, like the Ukraine and Russia war. And my own brother is in Ukraine doing medicine and had to be evacuated with other students. So working with the universities, working with the embassies to make sure that our students, especially the Ukraine war was a crazy time for me. So imagine every parent calling me every time, where's my son, where's my daughter, I've lost communication. But those things, no one could fathom that something will happen between those two countries who actually share culture, share the same language, and so on. But the other countries which are history, if you look back 50 years, they've never had a war. So we focus on those countries which, they're considered first very safe, number one. Number two, they don't have racism issues, so the locals are very welcoming to foreigners. That's also a very important factor, because sometimes based on religion, based on skin color and so on, some international students face challenges. And while also again case-to-case basis, cannot be avoided, but at the larger part, we look at with a keen eye to send someone at the right place.
That is the fear parents have, like sending their daughters or their sons to study abroad. They have the fear that my daughter is abroad, is outside country, something might happen to her or him. What would be your advice to those parents who are hesitant to let their students, or rather their sons and daughters, to study abroad?
All right, so the best advice I can give is definitely to take a risk on your child. Life is all about risks, and the biggest failure in life is a risk not taken. So then, with that being said, I strongly believe that if you leave your child in the same environment, they're growing up around the same things always, you're limiting their growth as an individual. Whereas if you allow them to go abroad and experience life and grow as a person, you'd be surprised by the kind of results that they would come back with. And those results are often unimaginable. They're things that their parents would have never conceived before. So yeah, take a risk on your children and allow them to experience life, and yeah.
Risk taking, huh?
Absolutely.
I'll also add something on that. So I usually tell parents, it's very common. We have done everything possible to send your child to the right place. At the end of the day, now it depends with that son or daughter. If they want to go astray, in as much as you confine them, even locally now with the technology, our kids are messed up. So we need to look at the upbringing. If we are keen on the upbringing, it reaches an age, you are confident that I can, let my son or daughter be out there, and they will know the right and wrong. But again, when a student goes out there, it's also now their responsibility, but we can always keep on advising them, keep the right company. Okay.
So maybe what is the future of Imperial Education Consultants?
The future is bright. Every year we keep on serving more students because of the challenges it's facing the country in terms of economy. So more and more parents are keen on sending their kids abroad. Embassies becoming very tight with their visas, so students and parents are knowing based on success rate, if I apply through Imperial, chances are high that I'll get that visa and I'll go out there. These guys are honest, because we've been there for long, and you cannot be for 10 years with no bad track record and still have issues, so we serve students with integrity. The future is about jobs, opportunities, and more and more universities now have more work placements. Traditionally it has always been a degree with a 3 months internship, okay, or placement. That's all. But now universities having more practical learning. They can do 2 semesters and then send their student for 4 months to go out there in the industry work, then come back, do another 2 semesters and then go out. So by the time you are done with studies, it has been, you know, a very practical learning. And scholarships are limited, but by using Imperial education, we are able to navigate and see how best we can assist you. So the future is good. We look forward to serving you, listener, future potential prospective students. Come to Imperial and we'll be there to assist you.
I'm looking to study abroad.
We'll talk.
I know there is a lot to talk about on these matters, but thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you.
Educating our viewers on matters studying abroad. I think that is all we had today, but since there is a lot to talk about on this matter of studying abroad, because so many students want to study abroad, so many parents want to take their students outside to study, we are gonna schedule another time for more details concerning this. Thank you so much. Back to you. My name is Zamzam Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.